Hey everyone, this is Rocky from WeLearnChess.com, and I've got a defensive puzzle here for you today from one of my games that I played on ChessCube. I opened a new account with the handle WeLearnChess, so if you want to play sometime, just send me a friend request and let me know some times that are good for you, and we'll see if we can work something out to sign on at the same time. But okay, so they start you out at 1300 in the Blitz pool, so I was just playing some games to try to get the rating up. I think I'm up to around 1700 now, and hopefully can get a couple 100 points higher. We'll see. I'm not very good at 5 minute 5-0 games, and that seems to be what most people are playing in the Blitz pool there. So we'll see how I do. But okay, I had black in this game, and I usually play the Nimzo against the Queen's Gambit, and he plays this. I think this is called the Leningrad variation. I haven't really looked at it yet. It's not necessarily the best response for white, but it's certainly good, and it's very, very sharp. So both sides have to know what they're doing, and I don't think either side knew what we were doing here. So G5 and C5 are thematic moves for black to make in this opening. I know that much. It's just that you have to play them at the right times, and I did not do that. So I've already made probably 3 inaccuracies, or maybe even might call them mistakes in a row. So that'll be something interesting to look at sometime, maybe for an opening video. But for here, I just want to get to the position where I got myself in trouble. So here, G5, although it's a good move to play in a lot of positions, it probably wasn't the right time, or it might still have been the best move, but it's just not helpful here because he can play the sacrifice, and it looks like he's going to get his piece back here with E5 due to the pin, and it's really hard to get out of this. And remember that he just got 2 pawns for the piece there, so if he gets his piece back, he's just going to be up at least 2 pawns, or if I get a pawn back in the trade somehow, then he would have 1 pawn. But it doesn't look like I'm even going to get a pawn back. I'm also in danger of him taking with some kind of fork, and he's got a passed pawn here already with a rook behind it, so this is not looking good. But there is a move that black can play here to sort of keep the game playable and even equal according to the computer, although that's another matter for discussion. I was just looking at d6, and I kind of discarded that because it looked like he was going to be able to just take and still have the pin. So I was trying to find a solution, and if you want to take a minute to pause the video and see what the best move here is for black to stay in the game, go ahead and do so. Okay, I'm going to give the solution now. So I was a little bit tricky with my intro there because actually d6 is one of the best moves here, probably the best. And I had just looked this far and just kind of saw that this pin was still in effect, and I think this is called maybe a quiescence error where you don't look far enough into the variation, or maybe it was just not being able to see the whole board. I think my mental focus was just on this part, and I didn't look to see that I can just take with check here and just drop the knight back because the pin's no longer in effect, and now you're just up a piece. And does he have 2 pawns here? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, he's got 2 pawns, but with these pawn weaknesses, you're probably going to get 1 or 2 pawns back anyway at some point, so he might not even have 2 pawns for the piece. He does have a passer, and he has the bishop pair, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The computer gives a pawn and a half advantage to black here, and almost all lines, equal or more. But of course, the game would still have to be won, but it looks pretty good for black there. Of course, white has better moves than this. This isn't exactly forced, so white here could play. The computer points out that queen f3 is better, so you're on this rook. You're adding pressure here to this knight. And black would probably have to play knight b to d7 just to make sure that at least the rook wasn't getting taken here. And now d takes e5 is better, of course. So you could take this pawn here with black, so you're on the queen, and then after something like this, it looks like you're getting forked again, but you've got the rook out just in time, and you can't play g4 because you can just take it. Oops. So you're in an interesting position here where, where material is almost equal. It looks like you're down, a pawn here? You're down a pawn here as black, but again, these pawn weaknesses are apparent. You're probably going to be able to play c5 at some point, maybe get your knight over to a5 and win this pawn, or maybe you can activate your rooks a little more quickly. We'll see. It's a challenging position for both sides, but it's about equal here, and you'd have to be careful about the pass pawn here, but yeah, definitely an imbalanced position and something that would be fun to play for both sides with winning chances here. And another interesting move would have been here. Let's see, for white, that is, before playing e5 to play f4 first, which just gives a little more support so that when these exchanges happen here, like on e5, maybe you could take with the f pawn and you won't have to necessarily isolate your pawns over here. That's one effect. So it could be something like this where computer wants to play queen e7, or this gives you a chance to play the rook over and maybe think about taking off this bishop, so then you'd have two pieces for the rook, although I think you down the pawns, so it's probably not great. But anyway, something like this could happen where the computer wants to either just play h4 or just continue putting pressure on here. It's interesting to see here that this still isn't, it's amazing this still isn't best, so sometimes it's good not to be afraid of stuff. I mean, here if d takes, then we have probably that same variation where queen takes queen. And this f pawn does give you some extra possibilities here, but then you just lose that bishop, so it doesn't quite work there yet. What about queen f3? That'd be interesting to see. Whoops. This worked before. But this fails here because you can play e4, which is kind of interesting. And now, well, if he takes this here, then actually he's just going to be down a full piece at the end of this, because you're going to get to take on g2 here first. And yeah, you can take this with the rook first because you don't want to let him take this here. So now you're just down a piece. Plus he's got to get this bishop out of here. So I mean, I don't know if taking this pawn is really a good idea. It's probably not as anything too worse than the other version, but yeah, you could force this out. Anyway, this is getting too long, but the idea is there were some variations there that I didn't have to necessarily be afraid of e5, and I think that it's hard not to react sometimes when you see a threat like that pin or whatever. But I didn't react in the best way. I forget what I did in the game, but it was terrible, and I lost really quickly. I think I just let him take the piece or something. I can't remember. But yeah, so it was an interesting defensive puzzle with an error on my part of just not calculating correctly or far enough. And hopefully you found it. And if you have any defensive puzzles that you want to share too, you could add them to the bottom, or let me know and we can post one for you. All right. Hope you had fun with this, and take care.